Alright, I think this is working. I'm going to now make a food dish for my quail. And I realized a while ago that a really good way to do that, a really, like a normal like dish, just an open dish, um, some of them, not all of them, I don't understand why some of them do this and some of them don't. I thought it was gendered at first, but I have two isolated males. One of them does it and one of them does not do it, so I don't think that's what the I don't think it's gendered. Um, but they will. Some of them will go in and just like scratch all of the food out of the bowl and spread it everywhere. And if you have like what you can get at like a feed store, like a with a container, and it opens up at the bottom. What'll happen is like they'll poop and pee in the ring, and then you have to clean that part out anyway. But there's still food, so that doesn't really work either. So yeah, what I realized was making my own dishes is the best way to go, and having them shaped like uh, kind of like an egg, with the fat end being the open end, the fat end cut off. That works really well. So the base of it is like a cone, so they can't knock it over. They can, they can move it around, they can kick it around, but the volume that is protected and contained is the same no matter how it moves. So that works really, really nicely. So, and I need a couple more of them, so I need to make some more. This clay's a little dry. Just kind of work some moisture into it. That's probably about right. I don't use I don't use any tools. I don't use a potter's wheel or anything like that. And when I lose pottery to it like exploding, it's because I didn't dry it correctly. That unfortunately that happens. I have the rest of my process down to the point where there's no other cause for losing pots, but come on. Stupid computer. Screen is dimming because it's been like 2 minutes or something. I just like rebuilt this computer, so it has stupid settings on it. You need a little more moisture. So there's a really nice, easy way you can get very, very round pottery just with your hands. Once you get this thing, to get your massive clay like how you want it and actually ready to work. Well, right away that's relatively circular. But yeah, you just work it like this. Just around and around in a ring. Basically, just simulate. See, already it's not bad, and I haven't even done anything yet. And if you've ever worked like sheet metal or anything like that, the principles are kind of the same, right? So I'm using my hand here to sort of form it, and what's happening is that's squishing it, so you get these wrinkles here, because it's instead of like expanding, it's being compressed. And at this point, what I want to do is I want to form like I want this to be a cone. So I don't want it to grow out too fast, because I'm not looking really to make like a classic bowl shape. I'm looking to make like a cone shape, so that it will set like this, and any way it gets jostled around, the volume on the inside doesn't really change. It just acts like a wheel, really, and your food in there just like it'll roll, it'll go along with it, but you know, it's not going to fall out. And then, kind of at about this point, I'm going to start making a lip. And this, I don't need this to be pretty. I don't need this to be, this isn't a decorative piece. This is a utilitarian piece. So I just need it to have basically the right shape and be able to handle the stresses that it's going to have to handle in use. And that's it. That's all I really care about. So I don't need the surface to be beautiful. I don't need it to be particularly, I don't need this edge to be perfect. This interior lip here doesn't have to be exact. But I mean, you can see how quickly like I made a decently circular shape here. It already looks fairly nice, and it took me, it's been 8 minutes, and most of that I was preparing the clay. Yeah. So it doesn't take very long. It can be pretty quick. And right now, about how that is, that'll hold about half a cup of food, as that is right there. And it also, because it's always going to be somewhat covered, that helps protect it from things like rain and wind and stuff like that. So this is a pretty good shape. I don't really know why nobody uses this shape for food dishes for animals, because if your animals like to toss around their food dishes, they can toss this around all they want. It's not gonna spill. And if you were doing, say, like a rabbit dish, you'd make it like 2 or 3 times bigger than this, so it can hold. This can hold about a cup. Usually for a rabbit, you want to give them about or this can hold about half a cup. Usually for a rabbit, you want to give them about a cup of food a day, along with grass or veggies and stuff like that. So about twice this for a rabbit, volumetrically. So yeah, it would be like the square root of 2. all of the yeah, or cube root of 2 actually. Yeah, because we're doing volume. Yeah, so not even that much bigger, really. And then this, I'm just kind of like coating the surface in slip to kind of fill in the cracks. And this doesn't need to be I'm going to low fire this. It doesn't need to be waterproof, so I'm not going to glaze it. It just needs to be able to hold food. And actually, it's an advantage for it to not be waterproof in that event, because what'll happen is that'll allow moisture to leave the container, and that'll help keep the food dry. So I don't want it like glass. I don't want it glazed. It's kind of a deep, I'm not sure what that was. A deep thing going on there. Might have been my fingernail, might have been a crack, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Just kind of work it around in your hands, and you can get pretty decent shapes without having to do anything too crazy. You don't need a wheel. And, you know, you tinker with this just a little bit longer than I'm gonna do, and you can make something really, really nice with it. You can make, you know, because I don't really care about all my finger impressions on the surface here. But if I just kept it going around like this with some water, like I'm doing here, and just kept smoothing it out, very quickly, you can get rid of all of that and make it very, very nice. And what's going to happen is this wet surface in the palm of this hand here is going to sort of become rough, because the way it's resting against my skin, and when I peel it off, it'll leave sort of a rough texture. Which actually just makes it easier to handle. Um, if you need to pick it up, it's grippier. So that's not a bad thing either. Uh, all of these little things that sort of just happen. It's okay. Yeah, that'll do pretty well. So yeah, you can put quite a bit of food in there. Pretty close to half a cup, maybe up to 3/4. Because it's closed at the back, you can kind of pile it, and you know, it'll form like a mound, like this. And the way that they'll eat it, it'll just kind of come towards them. So, you know, quite stable. It can hold quite a decent volume. And I think that's probably good enough right there.